hi. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here and for inviting me to represent Islam. When I was invited to give this homily, I wasn't sure what there was such a thing as a homily in Islam. That's not my paper, I'm good. And I'm still not sure that there is such a thing as a homily in Islam because the internet wasn't helpful. When I Googled Islam homily, Muslim homily, I kept getting this idea of a sermon. So I have no samples, and so I decided to do this organically. What I'm going to do first is to recite a couple of Quranic verses. You get a sample of what recitations of the Quran tend to look like in traditional Muslim spaces, because there's no musical instruments with Quran recitations or in religious spaces. There are musical instruments in non-traditional, non-mainstream spaces. And then I'll translate them in English, and then I'll get into this idea of human's divinity through which we're all connected and connected to each other as humans and to God. وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ وَحَمَلْنَاهُمْ فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ وَرَزَقْنَاهُمْ مِنَ الطَّيِّبَاتِ وَفَضَّلْنَاهُمْ عَلَى كَثِيرٍ مِّمَّنْ خَلَقْنَا تَفْضِيلًا وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أزواجا لتسكنوا إليها وجعل بينكم مودة ورحمة إن في ذلك لآيات لقوم يتفكرون. I'll stop there with the Arabic parts, but I'm going to translate them and also give translations of a couple of other verses in the Quran related to this question of diversity and justice and love. Verse 1770, number 70 of chapter 17 of the Quran reads, God honored the progeny of Adam and bore them across land and sea and provided them with good things for their sustenance. And among God's signs is that she created for you mates from amongst yourselves so that you may dwell in tranquility with each other. God has put love and mercy between your hearts. In that are signs for those who reflect. And of God's signs is the creation of the heavens and the earth and the diversity of your languages and your colors. In that too are signs for those with knowledge. God has sent messengers with clear signs and sent down with them scriptures so that people may administer justice and follow the best of what was revealed to you from God. These are some of my favorite verses in the Quran. Perhaps my most favorite of all is the last one, which I didn't recite in Arabic, but I give the translation to verse 66 of chapter 39, which urges readers of the Quran to extract from the Quran, the sacred text of Islam, the best possible meaning, the most beautiful, the most beneficial, speaking to the range of interpretive options and possibilities that we as readers of any scripture, of any text, especially when we attempt to apply them, have. And so when we have verses that appear to permit hostility toward each other, and in the same exact text, in this case the Quran, verses that teach love and compassion toward others, we must aim for the latter by the text's own logic. One of the themes that we speakers were encouraged to address in our talks here is that of human connectivity to each other, to the divine, because of the divinity that each human carries. But I wasn't sure how to address that also in the context of Islam, because there's simply no such thing as divinity, as human divinity, as the divine nature of humans. And it's not because Islam doesn't value the human. It absolutely does. The human is cherished, and loving each other as humans is a form of worship in Islam. Freeing an enslaved person, feeding and sheltering people who don't have appropriate resources is a form of expiation of sins, which is to say that when you commit a wrong, one way to seek God's forgiveness and to be forgiven by God is to take care of another person. Loving others is a form of worship in Islam, regardless of the other's religion or background and so on. But the concept of humans being created in God's image is just not a Quranic thing. It's not a concept in the Quran. Other Islamic sources, extra Quranic sources of Islam, like the commentaries, the tradition of commentaries on the Quran, or the Hadith, prophetic teachings of Muhammad, which are in conversation constantly with the Bible and biblical commentaries historically, do accept the view that humans are created in God's image. But I personally am not convinced that humans are created in God's image, partly because Islamically we don't know what God's image is, because the Quran describes God as a unique being who transcends any understanding and concepts that the human mind is capable of imagining. And we have no final ultimate idea of what even it means that humans are created in God's image, or that we're all divine and we share that divinity. Some Muslim theologians suggest that this means that we share certain characteristics and qualities with God, like this idea of kindness, loving the other, being the innate goodness of humans, and so on. But the concept of the distinction between the innate goodness of the divine versus the innate non-goodness, whatever that might mean, of humans is just not an Islamic thing. Humans aren't perceived as inherently prone to badness. We're not born in sin, and humans didn't inherit the sin of even Adam. In other words, the pitting of the human against the divine just is not a thing in Islam. So I'm going to do here, which is something that I've been doing for a bit now, I'm going to do what academics are annoyingly too often doing, which is to complicate things and suggest alternative ways of thinking and of seeing things. You see, the main reason that I don't think of humans as being created in God's image, or of being divine, is that I'm not convinced that it matters whether we're divine, whether we're directly connected to God or to each other through this divinity of ours. This beautiful and very incredibly powerful concept, this idea of humans carrying divinity, I worry might end up being misunderstood by too many people as the reason because of which we must cherish each other and love each other. But I want to suggest that we love and value and respect each other regardless of any divinity, any divine attributes, and any divine connections to each other or to God. Because the divine alone isn't what is deserving of respect. The non-divine too is deserving of respect and must be cherished and valued. So I'll leave you here with this thought. We don't have to be divine to be cherished by others. We humans don't even have to be connected to each other to be valued by each other. We don't have to have anything in common. We can share nothing in common simply besides being human, and still be respected and demand respect from each other. I worry about what it means to attach so much value to divinity, to the divine, that we overlook the inherent humanity of all. I think a lot about what it means to highlight similarities between different groups of people, different groups of humans, to argue for respect. Because I worry about what that suggests about our relationships to things, to beings, to other creations of God, that we might not have anything in common with. And I worry what this suggests about people that we don't understand because we assume we have nothing in common with them. But we absolutely must cherish each other and value the other, not just humans, but everything else that we share this universe with. Humans, animals, natural resources, land, water, the environment, everything. And we must cherish and love it all. Thank you.